In the glittering heart of Chicago's finest restaurant, where crystal chandeliers cast a golden glow over power brokers and elite diners, Olivia Harper, the untouchable CEO of Harper Enterprises, leaned back in her velvet chair, her sharp eyes glinting with disdain. She mocked the waiter, James Carter, for stumbling over the name of a rare Bordeaux, her voice dripping with condescension. "Stick to serving, not pronouncing," she sneered, expecting a flinch. Instead, James straightened, his weathered face calm, and responded in flawless Spanish. Detailing the wine's origin with poetic precision, the room fell silent. Olivia's smirk vanished. Who was this man, hiding behind an apron, wielding knowledge that rivaled sommeliers? Whispers of his past, a fallen executive, a life shattered by betrayal, ignited Olivia's curiosity. But curiosity was dangerous. James's words were no mere retort. They were a spark, threatening to unravel a corporate conspiracy that had cost him everything: his career, his wife, and nearly his daughter's life. As Olivia's gaze locked with his, she sensed a storm brewing, one that would drag them into a battle against power, greed, and a truth buried in blood. The night was young, but the war had begun. The dining room of Lucille, Chicago's premier restaurant, buzzed with the clink of fine china and murmured deals. Olivia Harper, in a tailored silk suit, commanded her table like a queen, her presence silencing lesser egos. At 38, she built Harper Enterprises into a tech empire, her name synonymous with ruthless ambition. Tonight, she entertained investors, her laughter sharp as she waved for the waiter. James Carter, 42, approached, his apron crisp, but his eyes heavy with unspoken burdens. His dark hair was streaked with gray, his hands steady despite the weight of years. "The Chateau Lafite Rothschild, ma'am?" he asked, voice low. Olivia's lips curled. "Lafite? You mean Lafitte, don't you?" Her guest chuckled, feeding her ego. James's jaw tightened, but he didn't shrink. Instead, he leaned in, his voice dropping to a melodic Spanish cadence. "Señora, el Chateau Lafite Rothschild, cosecha de 1982, es un Dios de cuerpo completo, con notas de casas y trufa. Prefiere que lo decante?" The table froze. Olivia's face flushed. Her investors gaped. This was no ordinary waiter. His fluency, his poise, it was a challenge, a glimpse of a man who'd once stood taller. Olivia, unaccustomed to being outshone, felt a spark of intrigue. "Who are you?" she demanded, her tone icy. James's smile was faint, almost mocking. "Just a server, ma'am." But his eyes told a different story, one of loss, resilience, and secrets buried deep. Olivia's mind raced. She'd built her empire on reading people, and James Carter was a puzzle she needed to solve. As he walked away, she caught a glimpse of a faded scar on his wrist, a mark of a life far from this polished dining room. By dessert, she'd made a call to her private investigator, Ethan Cole. "Dig into James Carter," she ordered. "Everything, his past, his failures, his enemies." Ethan's voice crackled through the phone. "You sure about this, Olivia? Some stones are better left unturned." But Olivia was relentless. She thrived on control, and James's defiance was a crack in her perfect world. That night, as James cleared tables, he felt her gaze linger. He'd meant to keep his head down, to hide the man he'd been, a regional director for Harper Enterprises' South American division, a husband, a father. But Olivia's taunt had stirred something reckless in him. He'd spent years running from his past, from the scandal that had stripped him bare. Now, in this city of steel and ambition, fate had thrown him into the orbit of the one woman who could unravel it all, or destroy him completely. As he left Lucille, the Chicago wind biting his face, James glanced back. Olivia stood at the window, her silhouette framed by city lights, watching him. He knew that look, a hunter sizing up prey. But James was no victim. He'd survived too much, lost too much. If Olivia wanted a fight, he'd give her one that would shake her empire to its core. James Carter's one-bedroom apartment in Chicago's South Loop was a far cry from the sleek offices he'd once commanded in Bogota. The walls were bare, save for a single photo of his daughter, Lily, smiling in a park, and a faded picture of his late wife, Maria, her eyes warm with love. At 2 a.m., James sat at a chip table, a glass of cheap whiskey in hand, staring at the scars on his knuckles, reminders of a life shattered 5 years ago. Ethan Cole's report arrived on Olivia's desk by dawn, its pages a brutal excavation of James's past. He'd been a rising star at Harper Enterprises, overseeing tech expansions in South America, negotiating multi-million-dollar deals with a charisma that disarmed even the toughest clients. Married to Maria, a brilliant lawyer, they'd built a life in Colombia, their daughter Lily born amidst dreams of a bright future. But in 2020, a financial scandal erupted. Forged documents linked James to embezzlement, painting him as a traitor who'd siphoned millions. Overnight, he lost his job, his reputation, and his allies. Maria, digging into the scandal, died in a car crash, a brake failure, the police called it. James, grieving and disgraced, fled to Chicago with Lily, taking low-wage jobs to survive. Olivia read the report in her penthouse, the Chicago skyline glittering below. "This man was one of us," she muttered, stunned. The scandal's timing nagged at her. It was too clean, too devastating. She summoned Ethan. "Find the source of those forged documents," she ordered. Someone set him up. Meanwhile, James dropped Lily at school, her small hand clutching his. "Daddy, why do you look sad?" she asked, her dark eyes mirroring Maria's. James forced a smile. "Just tired, kiddo." But the truth gnawed at him. Maria had been investigating Harper Enterprises' rivals, Sterling Global, when she died. Her last call to him, frantic, had warned of a bigger player behind the scandal. James had buried that memory, too broken to pursue it, until Olivia's taunt at Lucille cracked his armor. That evening, Olivia tracked James to a dive bar, her designer coat out of place among the neon signs. She slid into the booth across from him, her gaze unflinching. "I know who you were, James. Regional Director. Bogota. The scandal wasn't your fault, was it?" James's grip tightened on his glass. "You don't know anything," he said, voice low. "I know Maria was murdered," Olivia countered, leaning in. "And I think Harper Enterprises was involved." James's eyes flashed with pain, then suspicion. "Why do you care? You're one of them." Olivia's jaw clenched. "Because if my family's company ruined you, I need to make it right." James laughed bitterly. "You can't bring her back." But Olivia's intensity disarmed him. She wasn't just a CEO. She was a woman haunted by her own empire's shadows. As they spoke, James felt a flicker of the man he'd been, bold, determined. Olivia's offer was a lifeline. But trusting her meant risking everything. Outside, a man in a black SUV watched, his camera clicking. Someone else was digging into James's past, and they weren't as forgiving as Olivia. Olivia's office at Harper Enterprises was a fortress of glass and steel, overlooking Lake Michigan's restless waves. By week's end, Ethan Cole delivered a dossier that chilled her. The forged documents that destroyed James came from an internal server at Harper Enterprises, but the trail led to Sterling Global, a rival conglomerate with a history of shady acquisitions. Sterling had coveted Harper's South American contracts, and James's scandal cleared the way for their dominance. Ethan's voice was grim over the phone. "Olivia, this goes deep. Someone high up at Harper greenlit the frame job. And Maria's crash? The mechanics report was buried. Her brakes were tampered with." Olivia's hands trembled as she flipped through the evidence, emails, bank transfers, a coded memo mentioning the Bogota problem. She called James, her voice urgent. "Meet me at Millennium Park." Now, under the shadow of the cloud gate, James listened as Olivia laid out the conspiracy. His face hardened with each revelation. Sterling Global, he spat. Maria suspected them. She was close to exposing their shell companies. Olivia nodded. "And someone at my company helped them. I need to know who." James's eyes narrowed. "Why should I trust you? Your family's neck deep in this." Olivia's gaze was fierce. "Because I'm risking everything to find the truth." "Help me, James." Against his better judgment, James agreed. They spent days poring over records in a safe house Ethan secured, a nondescript loft in Wicker Park. The deeper they dug, the uglier it got. Sterling Global had orchestrated a takeover of Harper's South American assets, using James as a scapegoat. But the real shock was a name buried in the memos, Thomas Harper. Olivia's younger brother and Harper's CFO. James slammed the table. "Your brother framed me? He killed Maria." Olivia's face paled. "I don't believe it. Thomas is ambitious, but murder?" Yet the evidence was damning. Transfers from Thomas's personal account to a Sterling operative. Olivia's world cracked. Her family, her legacy, was tainted. James, meanwhile, battled his own demons. Trusting Olivia felt like betraying Maria, but her determination mirrored his own. They traced the conspiracy to a meeting in Buenos Aires, where Sterling's CEO, Victor Sterling, would finalize a new deal. "We need hard proof," Olivia said. "If we confront Thomas, he'll run." James nodded, his mind on Lily, safe with a trusted neighbor. "Then we go to Argentina. But if your brother's guilty, he pays." As they planned, danger closed in. The man in the black SUV, a Sterling enforcer, reported their movements to Victor. "They're getting close," he said into his phone. Victor's voice was cold. "Let them come. We'll bury them in Buenos Aires." Back in Chicago, James visited Lily, tucking her in with a story. Her small voice broke his heart. "Are you fighting bad guys, Daddy?" He kissed her forehead. "Yeah, kiddo. For you and Mommy." Olivia, alone in her penthouse, stared at a photo of her and Thomas as kids. If he was guilty, she'd lose more than her company, she'd lose her family. But the truth was worth the cost. As they boarded a flight to Argentina, James and Olivia knew they were walking into a trap. But retreat was no longer an option. The Buenos Aires skyline shimmered as James and Olivia landed, the city's pulse a stark contrast to the danger awaiting them. Their alliance, forged in Chicago's shadows, was fragile but resolute. Olivia's resources, private jets, encrypted servers gave them an edge, but James's street smarts kept them grounded. Their safe house, a sleek apartment in Palermo, buzzed with tension as they prepared to infiltrate Sterling Global's gala, where Victor Sterling would meet Thomas Harper. But their plans hit a snag when James got a call from Lily's school. She collapsed, struggling to breathe, and was rushed to a Chicago hospital. James's world tilted. "I'm going back," he said. Voice raw. Olivia grabbed his arm. "You can't. Sterling will disappear if we don't act now." James's eyes blazed. "She's all I have." Olivia softened, her own guilt surfacing. "I'll cover the hospital bills. Everything. Trust me to help her." Against every instinct, James stayed, driven by the need to end the nightmare that had stolen Maria. Olivia wired $50,000 to St. Joseph's Hospital, securing Lily's care, and arranged for a trusted nurse to update James hourly. The act wasn't just strategic, it was personal. Olivia saw Lily's photo on James's phone, a girl with Maria's eyes, and felt a pang of responsibility. Their partnership deepened, each seeing the other's scars. At the gala, James posed as a wine distributor, his Spanish flawless, while Olivia mingled as herself, the untouchable CEO. The opulent ballroom hid a viper's nest. Thomas Harper, slick in a tailored suit, chatted with Victor Sterling, their laughter masking their crimes. James, serving drinks, overheard Thomas whisper, "Carter's a ghost. He won't surface." Victor's reply chilled him. "If he does, he joins his wife." Olivia, catching James's signal, slipped into a back office, hacking Sterling's private server with Ethan's software. She found a gold mine, emails detailing the framed job, Maria's murder, and Thomas's payouts. But as she downloaded the files, an alarm tripped. Guards swarmed, and James pulled her into his service corridor, their escape a heartbeat from disaster. Back at the safe house, James's phone lit up with a photo of Lily, oxygen mask on but stable. Relief flooded him, but Olivia's discovery reignited his fury. "Thomas ordered the hit on Maria," she said, voice shaking. "He wanted to impress Sterling, to secure the South American market." James's fists clenched. "He's a dead man." Olivia grabbed his wrist. "We do this right, James. Evidence, not vengeance." Her words steadied him, but the fire in his chest burned. Olivia, grappling with her brother's betrayal, felt her empire crumbling. She'd trusted Thomas, shared dreams with him. Now, he was a stranger. As they planned to confront him, a shadow moved outside, a Sterling operative planting a tracker. The net was tightening, and James knew it. He called Lily's nurse, hearing his daughter's weak but hopeful voice. "Come home soon, Daddy." His resolve hardened. Olivia, watching him, saw not a broken man but a warrior. Their alliance, once a necessity, was now a bond forged in shared pain. They'd face Thomas and Victor together, but the cost would be higher than either imagined. As dawn broke over Buenos Aires, they steeled themselves for the fight, unaware that Sterling's men were already closing in. The Buenos Aires safe house was a pressure cooker, the air thick with betrayal's stench. James and Olivia pored over the stolen files, each email a nail in Thomas Harper's coffin. He'd orchestrated James's downfall, funneling forged documents through Harper Enterprises to Sterling Global. Worse, a coded order, signed Th. Authorized Maria's break sabotage, labeled collateral cleanup. Olivia stared at her brother's initials, her heart fracturing. He was my mentor, she whispered. How could he? James's voice was steel. He wanted power. Maria was in his way. The truth cut deeper than any knife. Thomas had seen Maria's investigation as a threat to his deal with Sterling. A deal that netted him millions. James's grief surged, but Lily's latest hospital update, stable, improving, kept him focused. They tracked Thomas to a private villa in Recoleta, where he was meeting Sterling operatives. Olivia insisted on confronting him alone. He's my brother. I need answers. James relented but tailed her, his instincts screaming danger. The villa's opulence mocked their mission: marble floors, chandeliers, armed guards. Olivia, in a black dress, faced Thomas in his study. Why, Tom? She demanded, thrusting the emails at him. Thomas's face, usually smug, flickered with panic. You don't understand, Liv. Sterling offered me the world, South America, billions. Carter was expendable. Olivia's voice broke. And Maria? Her unborn child. Thomas flinched, guilt surfacing. I didn't know she was pregnant. Sterling handled the details. His excuse was a coward's plea, and Olivia's rage boiled. You sold our family's soul. Before Thomas could respond, James burst in, gun drawn, a relic from his Bogota days. You killed my wife, he growled, finger on the trigger. Thomas raised his hands, stammering. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Olivia stepped between them, her eyes pleading. James, we need him alive. For the evidence. James's hand shook. Maria's memory screaming for vengeance, but Lily's face flashed in his mind. He lowered the gun. Thomas, seizing the moment, lunged for a panic button. Guards stormed in, and chaos erupted. James tackled Olivia to the floor as bullets flew, their escape a desperate crawl through a side exit. Outside, they vanished into Buenos Aires' labyrinthine streets, Thomas's betrayal a fresh wound. Olivia's world was unraveling. Her brother wasn't just complicit, he was a monster. James, haunted by how close he'd come to murder, knew Thomas was a small fish. Victor Sterling was the true puppet master, orchestrating a global scheme. They regrouped at a dingy cafe, plotting their next move. Olivia's phone buzzed, an encrypted message from Ethan. Sterling's at his Buenos Aires HQ tonight. High security, but there's a window. James's eyes burned with resolve. We end this now. But danger was closer than they knew. A Sterling operative, tipped off by Thomas, tailed them, his orders clear: eliminate both. As they slipped into the night, James glanced at Olivia, her face etched with guilt and determination. Their alliance was ironclad. But the cost of truth was rising. Lily's safety, their lives, hung in the balance. The confrontation with Sterling loomed. A battle that would test their courage and expose the rot at Harper Enterprises' core. Buenos Aires' neon lights flickered, a city unaware of the storm about to break. Sterling Global's Buenos Aires headquarters towered over the city, a glass monolith pulsing with corporate greed. James and Olivia, cloaked in darkness, slipped through a service entrance. Ethan's hacked security codes their only shield. Inside, the air was sterile, the hum of servers masking their footsteps. Victor Sterling, the silver-haired CEO, was in his penthouse office, finalizing a deal that would cement his empire's grip on South America. James's pulse raced. This was the man who'd ordered Maria's death, who'd turned his life to ash. Olivia, her face taut, carried a flash drive with their evidence, enough to bury Sterling if they could get it out. The galla's chaos had given them this chance, but time was short. They navigated labyrinthine corridors, dodging guards, until they reached the executive elevator. James's old gun, a weight from his past, felt heavy in his hand. Olivia's tech, jammers, cameras, kept them invisible, but her eyes betrayed fear. If we fail, Lily's next, she whispered. James nodded, his daughter's face stealing him. The elevator opened to Victor's office, a cathedral of wealth, mahogany, gold. A view of the Rio de la Plata. Victor stood at his desk, unruffled, as if expecting them. Mr. Carter, Miss Harper, he said, voice smooth as venom. You're persistent. James raised his gun. You killed my wife. Confess, or you don't leave this room. Victor laughed, unfazed. Maria was a nuisance. You were collateral. Business, nothing personal. Olivia thrust the flash drive forward. Your emails, bank records, they're going public unless you talk. Victor's eyes narrowed, but he didn't flinch. You think you can touch me? My network spans continents, politicians, generals. Your own brother, Olivia. The revelation hit like a gut punch. Thomas wasn't just a traitor. He was Victor's pawn in a global game. James's finger tightened on the trigger, but Olivia's hand on his arm stopped him. We need him alive, she hissed. Victor seized the moment, pressing a hidden button. Alarms blared, guards poured in. James fired, grazing Victor's shoulder. As he and Olivia dove behind a desk, bullets shredded the room, glass shattering like their hopes. They fought back, James's shots precise, Olivia's tech-disabling cameras. But Victor slipped away, vanishing into a private exit. Desperate, they fled down a fire escape, the city's chaos swallowing them. At the safe house, James's phone buzzed. Lily's nurse, panicked. Men came to the hospital. We moved her, but they're hunting her. James's heart stopped. Victor's reach was endless. Olivia, guilt-ridden, vowed, "We'll protect her." They uploaded the evidence to Ethan, who leaked it to global media, but Victor's taunt echoed. My network's untouchable. The stakes skyrocketed. Lily's life, their survival, a conspiracy beyond Sterling. James clutched Maria's old locket, his resolve iron. Olivia, her empire tainted, saw no choice but to fight. As they planned their next move, a shadow crossed the window, a Sterling assassin. Knife gleaming. Buenos Aires was a battlefield, and they were out of time. The war for justice had just begun, and the cost would be everything. The Buenos Aires safe house was compromised. The assassin's knife a grim warning of Victor Sterling's reach. James and Olivia fled to a seedy motel. The city's neon hazed their only cover. Victor's words haunted them. His network wasn't just corporate, it was a hydra of corruption, entwined with global elites. A leaked email from the flash drive revealed a chilling truth. Sterling's operation manipulated markets and governments, with Maria's murder a footnote in a scheme to control South American tech. Worst, Victor had targeted Lily, knowing she was James's heart. If you keep digging, he'd sneered, she joins her mother. James's rage was a live wire, but Lily's safety anchored him. Olivia, wrestling with Thomas's betrayal, hacked into Sterling's server again, uncovering a name, General Marcus Kane, a Pentagon insider tied to Sterling's defense contracts. This is bigger than we thought, she said, voice hollow. Kane's untouchable. James's eyes burned. No one's untouchable. They needed to return to Chicago, where Ethan had secured a safe house and was tracking Kane. But first, they had to protect Lily. Olivia called a contact in Toronto, a former CIA operative named Claire Voss, who owed her a favor. Hide Lily, Olivia instructed. No questions. Claire agreed, spiriting Lily to a remote cabin. James spoke to his daughter via encrypted video, her small face pale but brave. I'm okay, Daddy. Beat the bad guys. Her words were a knife and a shield. Back in Chicago, the city's winter gripped them as they met Ethan in a derelict warehouse. He'd traced Kane to a secret meeting with Sterling's operatives, set for tomorrow at a Loop penthouse. It's a trap, Ethan warned. They know you're back. James didn't care. Maria's memory, Lily's future, drove him. Olivia, her empire crumbling under Thomas's sins, felt a new purpose. We expose Kane. We cripple Sterling, she said. They planned a high-stakes ambush, using Olivia's tech to bug the meeting and James's grit to infiltrate. But Sterling's men were steps ahead. As they prepped, a Molotov cocktail crashed through the warehouse window, flames roaring. James shoved Olivia out a back exit, Ethan covering them as they ran. The city was a maze of danger. Sterling's assassins on their heels. In a stolen car, James gripped the wheel, Olivia's laptop open, streaming the leaked evidence to journalists. If we die, this goes viral, she vowed. James nodded, his mind on Lily. They reached a safe house, but Ethan's call chilled them. Kane had ordered a hit on Lily's location. Claire was holding off attackers, but time was running out. James's heart pounded. He'd failed Maria. He couldn't fail Lily. Olivia, her guilt await, proposed a desperate plan, a public confrontation at a Harper Enterprises press conference, forcing Kane and Sterling into the open. It's suicide, James said. It's our only shot, she countered. As they armed themselves, a shadow moved outside, another Sterling operative, watching. The threat was everywhere, their lives a heartbeat from extinction. Chicago's skyline loomed, a battleground where truth and blood would collide. James clutched Lily's drawing. His resolve unbreakable. Olivia steeled herself, ready to burn her legacy for justice. The war was escalating, and they were all in. Chicago's magnificent mile glittered under a gray dawn. But the Harper Enterprises press conference was a powder keg. James and Olivia, battered but unyielding, stood in a packed ballroom, cameras flashing. Their plan was reckless. Expose Victor Sterling and General Kane live, using the leaked evidence to force their hand. Olivia, in a sharp blazer, faced the crowd, her voice steady. Harper Enterprises has uncovered a conspiracy threatening global markets. James, disguised as security, scanned for threats. Ethan, in the tech booth, streamed the evidence, emails, recordings. Proof of Maria's murder to every major outlet. The room buzzed as Olivia named Sterling and Kane, her brother Thomas's betrayal a wound she bared publicly. "We've been complicit," she admitted. "But today we fight back." The crowd gasped, reporters scrambled. Then, chaos erupted. A Sterling assassin, posing as a journalist, drew a silenced pistol, aiming for Olivia. James tackled her to the floor, bullets grazing his arm. Screams filled the air as security swarmed, but the assassin vanished into the panic. James dragged Olivia backstage, blood seeping through his sleeve. "They're here," he growled. Ethan's voice crackled through their earpieces. "Kane's in the building. Penthouse level." They fought through the crowd. James's gun drawn, Olivia's laptop clutched tight. The penthouse was a trap. Kane, flanked by mercenaries, waited with Victor via video feed. "You're tenacious, Carter," Victor sneered. "But you're out of moves." Kane, a grizzled warhorse, added, "Your daughter's next." James's rage exploded. He charged, disarming a guard in a blur. Olivia hacked the room's cameras, broadcasting Kane's threat live. The world watched as James pinned a mercenary, his voice raw. "You killed my wife. My unborn son. Confess." Kane laughed. But Victor's feed cut out. Ethan had traced him to a Chicago safe house. Olivia's gamble paid off. The broadcast went viral, governments demanding answers. But Kane wasn't done. He drew a blade, lunging at James. Olivia threw herself between them, taking a shallow cut to her arm. James disarmed Kane, slamming him against the wall. "It's over," he spat. Police stormed in, alerted by the broadcast, cuffing Kane as he cursed. Victor's safe house was raided, but he'd slipped away, leaving a taunting message. "This isn't the end, Carter." The conference resumed. Olivia addressing a shaken crowd, her arm bandaged. "We'll rebuild, transparent, just." James, bloody but standing, knew the cost. Lily was still in danger. As they left, Ethan reported Claire's update. Lily was safe, but Sterling's network was mobilizing. The press hailed Olivia as a whistleblower, but her empire teetered. James's sacrifice, exposing his pain to the world, had cracked the conspiracy, but the war wasn't won. In a quiet moment, Olivia touched James's arm. "We did this for Maria. For Lily." He nodded, his heart heavy. Chicago's streets buzzed with their story, but a shadow lingered. An assassin scope trained on them from a rooftop. The confrontation had shaken the world. But the real battle loomed. James clutched Lily's drawing, vowing to fight on. Olivia, her legacy redefined, stood ready. The truth was out, but the price was blood. And the enemy was far from defeated. The Chicago police precinct was a hive of chaos, reporters swarming as General Marcus Kane and Thomas Harper were led away in cuffs. James and Olivia, bruised and bandaged, stood outside, the city's pulse a grim backdrop. The press conference had worked. Kane's confession, broadcast live, had sparked global outrage. Sterling Global stock plummeted. Investigations launched in 3 continents. Victor Sterling, though, had vanished, his taunt echoing. "My people will find your daughter." James's gut churned. Lily was safe in Canada. But for how long? Olivia, her arm in a sling, faced a scrum of microphones. "Harper Enterprises will cooperate fully," she vowed, her voice steady despite the betrayal of her brother. Thomas's guilty plea, admitting to Maria's murder plot, had shattered her, but she stood tall, redefining her legacy. James, avoiding the cameras, called Claire Voss. "Lily's okay," Claire assured. "But Sterling's men are circling. You need to end this." James's resolve hardened. He'd exposed Kane, but Victor was the head of the snake. Ethan, working from a safe house, traced Victor's last signal to Toronto, too close to Lily. "He's baiting you," Ethan warned. James didn't care. He'd face hell for his daughter. Olivia, overhearing, insisted on joining him. "This is my fight too," she said, guilt over Thomas fueling her. They boarded a private jet, Olivia's last corporate card played. Toronto's icy streets greeted them, Claire meeting them at a secluded diner. "Lily's hidden, but Sterling's got informants everywhere," she said, sliding them a burner phone. James's heart ached for his daughter, her laughter a memory driving him. Olivia's tech traced Victor to a waterfront warehouse, a fortress of steel and shadows. They infiltrated at midnight, James's gun steady, Olivia's drone scouting. Inside, Victor waited, flanked by mercenaries. "You're predictable, Carter," he sneered. "Your daughter's next." James lunged, but Olivia's drone jammed the mercenaries' comms, giving them a fighting chance. The warehouse erupted, gunfire, smoke, chaos. James took a bullet to the shoulder, pain searing, but he fought on, disarming a guard. Olivia, bloodied, uploaded the last of their evidence to the FBI. Victor, cornered, laughed. "You think this ends with me? My network owns Washington." But his arrogance was his downfall. FBI tactical teams, tit by Ethan, stormed in, cuffing Victor as he spat curses. James, bleeding, pinned him down. "For Maria," he whispered, fist raised, but Olivia stopped him. "He's done," she said. Victor's arrest was a victory, but his warning lingered. "My people are everywhere." Back in Chicago, James reunited with Lily, her small arms around him a balm to his wounds. Olivia, her empire in ruins but her conscience clear, vowed to rebuild. The world hailed them as heroes, but the cost was steep, friends lost, lives upended. As they stood by Lake Michigan, James clutched Lily's hand, Olivia at his side. The conspiracy was cracked, but Sterling's network simmered, a shadow ready to strike. Justice was theirs, but it was fragile. Bought with blood and sacrifice. A distant figure watched, phone in hand, reporting their every move. The fight wasn't over, and James knew it. For now, he held Lily close, vowing to protect her, no matter the cost. Toronto's frozen wilderness was Lily's sanctuary, a remote cabin shielded by Claire Voss's network. James and Olivia, back from Victor's arrest, arrived under a moonless sky, their breath clouding in the cold. Lily ran to James, her hug fierce despite her frailty. "You're a hero, Daddy," she whispered, her oxygen tank humming. James's heart swelled. But fear not, Victor's network was alive, its tendrils reaching for his daughter. Olivia, her arms still bandaged, coordinated with Claire, who'd spotted Sterling operatives in the area. "They're closing in," Claire warned. "We need to move her." James nodded, his shoulder wound throbbing. Lily was his everything. He'd burn the world to keep her safe. Olivia's contacts secured a safe house in Vancouver, a fortress disguised as a fishing lodge. They traveled by night, Claire's team running decoys to throw off pursuers. In the van, Lily clutched James's hand, her eyes wide. "Will the bad guys find us?" James forced a smile. "Not while I'm here, kiddo." Olivia, monitoring encrypted feeds, caught a signal. Sterling's men had bribed a local cop. "We're compromised," she hissed. James's gun was ready, his old instincts sharp. At a gas station, 2 SUVs blocked their path. Sterling's enforcers stepping out. "Hand over the girl," one growled. James fired first, a warning shot sparking the pavement. Claire's team engaged, a firefight erupting under the northern stars. Olivia shielded Lily, her drone disabling one SUV's engine. They escaped, but a bullet grazed Claire, her blood staining the snow. Vancouver's safe house was a brief reprieve. James tucked Lily in, her small voice singing Maria's lullaby. Olivia, haunted by Thomas's betrayal, worked with Ethan to trace Sterling's remaining players. A name surfaced, Senator Laura Hale, a silent partner in Sterling's defense deals. "She's in D.C., Ethan said. "If we expose her, the network collapses." James hesitated. Lily needed him here. But Olivia's resolve was iron. "We end this for her," she said, her eyes meeting his. They left Lily with Claire, now patched up, and flew to D.C., infiltrating a Capitol Hill gala where Hale would speak. James, posing as a caterer, slipped a mic into Hale's suite, while Olivia hacked her emails, finding proof of her ties to Sterling. But Hale's security was tight, and a guard spotted James. A chase through the gala's kitchens ended with James cornered, Hale's cold gaze on him. "You're a ghost, Carter," she sneered. Olivia's broadcast of the emails saved him, Hale's crimes flashing on every screen. Secret Service swarmed, arresting her, but a Sterling sniper fired, clipping Olivia's leg. James dragged her to safety, their bond unbreakable. Back in Vancouver, Lily was safe, but James knew the network's roots ran deep. He and Olivia, scarred but defiant, planned their next move. A burner phone buzzed, a Sterling operative's voice. "We're still watching." The hunt for Lily was relentless, but so was James's will. Olivia, her empire gone but her purpose clear, stood with him. The wilderness stretched before them, a refuge and a battlefield. James held Lily close, vowing to fight on, while Olivia's tech hummed, tracking their next target. The war for justice was far from over, but they were ready. Vancouver's dawn painted the safe house in soft gold, but danger lingered like a storm on the horizon. James sat by Lily, her steady breaths a fragile victory. Olivia, her leg bandaged, worked her laptop, tracking the remnants of Sterling's network. Senator Hale's arrest had cracked their foundation, but the burner phone's threat, "We're still watching," was a chilling reminder. The enemy was wounded, not dead. James's shoulder ached, his gun never far, while Olivia's eyes burned with resolve. They toppled giants Victor Sterling, Thomas Harper, Marcus Kane, but the conspiracy's roots twisted through global power. Ethan's latest report confirmed it. A shadow council, unnamed elites, was regrouping to silence them. Lily, coloring at the table, looked up. "Are we safe now, Daddy?" James's heart clenched. "Soon, kiddo," he lied, kissing her forehead. Claire, healed but wary, patrolled the perimeter, her rifle ready. Olivia's tech pinged, a coded message from a whistleblower inside Sterling's old network. "They're planning a strike," she said. "We need to hit first." James nodded, his mind on Maria's locket, a talisman of his vow. They couldn't run forever. Lily deserved a life free of fear. The whistleblower offered a lead, a meeting in London where the council would regroup. "It's a suicide mission," Claire warned. Olivia's gaze was steel. "Or our last chance." James agreed, but first, they fortified Lily's safety. Claire's team moved her to a new hideout, a coastal cabin guarded by ex-special forces. James hugged Lily, her small arms fierce. "I'll be back," he promised, her trust his anchor. Olivia arranged a jet, her last resources drained, her empire a memory. As they flew, James studied Olivia, once a foe, now a sister in arms. Her sacrifice, her guilt over Thomas, mirrored his own pain. "We end this together," he said. She nodded, a rare vulnerability in her eyes. London loomed, a city of secrets. They'd infiltrate the meeting, expose the council, and pray to survive. But Sterling's shadow was long. At a Vancouver dock, a Sterling operative watched Lily's new safe house, his radio crackling with orders. The net was tightening, even as James and Olivia planned their strike. Back in the cabin, Lily drew a picture of her family. James, Maria, herself, her hope a beacon. James clutched it, boarding the jet, his heart torn between love and vengeance. Olivia's tech hummed, a final weapon against their foes. The world knew their story, heroes who'd shaken empires, but the cost was etched in their scars. London awaited, a battlefield where truth could triumph or bury them. As the jet soared, a London contact texted, "They know you're coming." James gripped his gun, Olivia her resolve. The war wasn't over, it was evolving. Hope flickered, Lily's smile. A world made right, but danger was certain. They'd fight, for Maria, for Lily, for justice. The cabin's quiet was a lie. Sterling's men were closing in. James and Olivia, bound by blood and purpose, flew into the storm, their fate unwritten, their courage unbroken. The world watched, and the shadows waited. The saga of James Carter and Olivia Harper teaches us that justice is a relentless pursuit, demanding courage to face impossible odds. James, a man broken by loss, rose not for vengeance but for his daughter, Lily, proving that love is the fiercest motivator. Olivia, a titan of industry, shed her empire to right her family's wrongs, showing that redemption lies in owning our mistakes. Their journey, through betrayal, gunfire, and global conspiracies, reveals that truth is never free. It's paid in blood, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. Yet, their story also whispers hope. Even in darkness, a single spark of defiance can ignite change. They faced a hydra of corruption, knowing each victory was temporary, yet fought on, because standing still is surrender. Life's lesson here is clear. Evil thrives when good people flinch. James and Olivia didn't flinch. They struck, for Maria, for Lily, for a world worth saving. Their scars are a testament to the cost of courage, but their survival proves its worth. We all face our own Sterlings, systems, lies, or fears that seem invincible. The question is, will you fight? Rise for what's right, no matter the cost. Protect those you love, challenge the shadows, and never let fear silence your voice. Start today, speak truth. Act boldly and keep fighting, because justice waits for no one.